if I had painted these breast feathers with this black initially, I couldn't come back and add the depth that I'm getting with the ivory black. So starting out with the dark brown, brownish black that I mixed with the burnt umber and cobalt blue, produced this nice dark brown that I'm now accenting with ivory black at the tips of each feather, outer edge. Really looking forward to getting out of Minnesota in just over a week. Be traveling to the World Championship. And it's not always, really warm there, but it's certainly warmer than it is here in Minnesota every year. Even if it's cold and rainy, it's still warmer than it is in Minnesota. So, really looking forward to getting to some nice warm weather by comparison to that which we have here in Minnesota. Okay, so I've gone all the way around on these breast and neck feathers that work into the cape in the back of the head. I'm just kind of inspecting where I've already added the paint, and I'm seeing a couple of areas that could use a little bit more. And I want to let that set up before I, just a little bit. And if I need to do any blending, I can either come back with a little bit more paint on this brush, or I can come back with a dry, clean blending brush and blend it in. And I'll probably do a little bit of each, depending upon what needs to be done on that particular feather. It's amazing how dark the dark brown looked until I added the ivory black. Major contrast in color. Take care of this lower edge. Top of the hour at the Artistry Studios. Getting this lower edge all the way around. It also helps to look at it again from a different direction, like I've done for most of this entire bird. You've got to inspect it from all directions to make sure that you haven't missed something. I saw some missed feathers underneath the bill here. You know, and each time you come back and do a subsequent pass, you're not going to hit exactly where you did the first time, so it will soften that edge in that transition between one color to the next by coming and doing it 2 or 3 times rather than trying to do it in one shot. It just doesn't work that way. Not if you want to have a nice soft look. A little bit more under the bill. I don't know if you can see in there what I'm doing. I can hardly see in there what I'm doing. I'm having to come in from both sides to get some of these really small feathers. Okay, I'm going to call it good for this pass, and then I'm going to come back and check it a little bit later. So my next step is going to be coming in with some of this deep red, the orangey red. I'm sorry, the brighter red, red, not the orangey red. We got red, orange, and orange red. So I'm going to use the red orange, which is what I was using at the bottom of the head feathers. I want to get a good puddle going. I want it to be relatively thick because I want to be able to feather out this lower edge. And I'm doing the red first. I'll be coming back and doing black in contrast. And get this transition detail painted in. Just want to go in between the burned barbs and just add splits. Sometimes it's more effective to pull into the split than away or out. Every once in a while I find a feather I missed, so I quick go back and take care of it. See that little fuzzy? It doesn't matter how careful you are. There's always some sort of fuzz that ends up on your piece that can interfere with the painting. Daniel Montano suggested to use an air can like you use to clean the dust off of your computer or keyboard or I tried it. It works really good, so it's a good suggestion. And we get to the show and our pieces have packing material and things that they've been exposed to just getting them to the show. So, you know, before you go into registration, you should not only have dusted off any little debris that your piece may have picked up in the packing and transporting of it, but double check your eyes every single time that you've cleaned everything off. It's one of the most common mistakes I see as a judge is someone spent all of this time doing all of this beautiful carving and painting, and then they forget to clean off their eyes. It's really unfortunate. When you add this color differences, it also helps to enhance where the feathers stop and start. When you're not using, you know, huge ledges and raised, you know, back edges on your feathers, which is not very realistic at all. So, you know, I've said earlier in these videos that instead of using hard ledges at the back edge of your feathers to define them, if you let the texture of the feather define it, you'll have a much more subtle feather, which feathers are. They're subtle, and so then when we come back and we paint in the back edge of the feather, which, you know, the burning has defined where it stops and starts, it further enhances the overall look of the finished painted feather. And oftentimes, you know, you get these things painted on, and by the time it's dried, it's kind of sucked in a little bit. It's not as vivid black as the first time I put it on there, the first pass. So I come back and take care of that. When I make a transport container for this, I'll just be using the same foam that I've used for my other high density foam, and cutting a section using a electric knife, like for your meat you use on the turkey at Christmas. Be using that to cut the hole. I use my original template to outline the hole that I'm going to cut, and then I use the electric knife to cut the hole, and it cuts like a dream. I found that on YouTube. That technique worked out really great for both the loon with chicks and the old squaw drake and my Madagascar grebes have all been transported using the high density foam container. Alright, a little bit more light in here. This should pretty much take care of the coloration on the breast. If I see a real hard line, I'm going back and softening it with a little bit more black paint. The other thing you could do is use a blending brush, but adding a little bit more black paint is actually a better choice in this case. So I just want it to be a little darker than it already is. Alright, so you can see the feathering that I've done at this transition point. And then I've gone back and Made sure I didn't miss any feathers and blended anything that needed blending. Kind of just pulling up into the back of the head feathers here to even things out from side to side. So the next step is going to be I'll be adding a little bit of alizarin crimson to this area of the back and side of the head and a little bit on the crest. And then I'll be adding the iridescence very subtly and followed by sealing the bill.